Good evening. We'll start off tonight with prayer. For those who want to participate, please do so. I will lead prayer and I will also lead the Pledge of Allegiance. Can we bow our heads for those that want to partake? Most gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight asking you to strengthen our decisions and the direction that this city needs to go into. Father, it's all in your hands right now. I ask that you bless the workers from the top to the bottom. I ask you bless our citizens and continue to keep Saginaw lifted up in prayer all of the time. Father, we ask these things in the mighty name of Jesus. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening again. This is a public meeting, and the audience is to remain from booing, clapping, and any obnoxious behavior. I'm asking that all council people put your phones on vibrate. Audience, I'm asking you to do it too. I still need a telephone. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Lamar Sylvia. Present. Councilmember Austin or Williams. Excuse me.
Present.
Councilmember Bench. Present. Councilmember Balls.
Present.
Councilmember Scherzer. Councilmember Ostash is excused. Councilmember Flores.
Present.
Councilmember Copeland.
Present.
And Mayor Moore.
Present.
We have 8 members present, 1 excused. You do have a quorum.
Thank you. Do we have any announcements?
I do, Mayor. Thank you. I want to remind everyone that City Hall will be closed Monday, September 5th for the Labor Day holiday. And also, the Citizen Police Advisory Commission has 2 vacancies to fill. One is for a local high school youth representative, and one is for a mental health professional. Applications are available on the city website and in the clerk's office, and you must be a city resident. Also, the Waste Convenience Station is open on the 2nd Saturday of the month from 8 o'clock a.m. until noon. City residents who wish to dispose of large, bulky items are encouraged to utilize this service. Items that can be dropped off include recyclables, building materials, furniture, trash, etc. The station will be open next Saturday, September 10th. And Mayor, that takes us to a public hearing.
Thank you. The purpose of the public hearing is for the public to address council as a whole and for council to hear the information provided by the speaker for considerations regarding specific actions that are being requested. Speakers must limit their remarks to the subject of the public hearing. I'm going to say that one again. Speakers must limit their remarks to the subject of the public hearing. Please begin by stating your name and your position, whether you oppose or support these actions during the public hearing. The first speaker is considered the main presenter, and at that time you will have 10 minutes. Any other city representative that wants to speak, you will be allowed 3 minutes. The public hearing is not a question or answer period for the council. Therefore, the questions must not be directed to any individual council member or staff or to the audience. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor. Our public hearing tonight is on the request to terminate Brownfield Plan 16 Staples Building, also known as Michigan Photo Redevelopment and Reuse Project, located at 119 and 127 South Jefferson Avenue and 124 South Baum Street.
Do we have a representative who would like to speak on this subject? Do we have a representative that would like to speak on this subject? Okay, I was told that we don't. Do we have any citizens who would like to speak on this topic? That was an easy one. I need a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
It's been moved to second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Madam Clerk.
We are now at public input.
I'd like to welcome everyone who signed up to address the council tonight. Please speak slow and clear so that we don't miss what you have to say. You have to be called to the podium by the city clerk, who will time you. Speakers will be allowed 3 minutes limit, at which time the clerk will be timing it and letting you know when your time is up. Remember, we need to remain courteous and respectful to the members of the public and to those who are watching on SGTV and the council, so that we can give serious consideration to your concerns. Thank you. I need to also say that we are going back to the 3-minute mark. You have 3 minutes. You have 3 minutes to say what you have to say, and you need to get it all in 3 minutes. And so we know that we may have to change some stuff, but that was the rule, and that's what we have on paper, 3 minutes. It is not fair when some people can keep it to 3, and then we extend it. So if you want to blame somebody, blame me. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor. Our first speaker tonight is Carly Hammond.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Carly Hammond, 5015 South Washington. So today I'm with Saginaw CAP. So we were at the Planning Commission last week. We're here today. We do have an agenda. We did one of these a year ago, and it was actually very similar to the one that we did this year. The same thing about the garbage rates increasing, which were increased about the same time last year as well. Same about Ojibwe. A lot of people were talking about Ojibwe being closed a year ago as well. And a lot of the same thing about public engagement, about public speaking time, about how it can be inaccessible to a lot of people to have to call ahead of time instead of just filling out a form when you get here, and a lot about the American Rescue Plan Act. 1 year ago today, we were at a city council meeting as Saginaw CAP talking about the American Rescue Plan Act, talking about $52 million and the transformational nature of this money, the transformational nature of $52 million for the city of Saginaw. And since that time, the city of Saginaw voted to give itself $26 million of that as lost revenue. So the remaining 26 went to the committee for ARPA, and they have been meeting since I think about January or February, maybe even March, to discuss ARPA funds. So today we're hearing Guidehouse Strategies, which was paid a certain amount of money to guide that discussion. And Saginaw CAP, what we believe is that there has not been enough public engagement on this issue. We believe that there has been an effort made to talk to Guidehouse Strategies. There has been an effort made to dig through some of these proposals. There was an open proposal process. However, that proposal process was limited to 2 months or so based off of some arbitrary rule that Guidehouse came up with, and it was kind of closed beforehand, afterwards. And Saginaw CAP believes, first and foremost, that trusted city partners should receive ARPA dollars to invest in transformational programs. Trusted community partners who have a history of working within the city and taking care of all of its residents, particularly those on the north side, particularly those on the east side, particularly those on the south side. People have been asking repeatedly for youth programming, better maintenance of their lots around their neighborhoods, and for basic amenities like grocery stores and pharmacies that they currently have to travel to get, which those transformational uses is what ARPA is for. And this community has been saying it again and again and again. And this presentation today, unfortunately, presents buckets of funding. It doesn't present specific programs. And whether or not that was the purpose of the committee is really unclear. It was unclear from the beginning. But Saginaw CAP has been saying it for a year now, and they're saying the same thing. The community needs more involvement. The community needs more engagement. The community needs to be on a level footing with the urban planners, with the experts at city, with the city council to discuss ways and means of revitalizing the community and making sure that business reinvestment puts communities first. Thank you so much for your time.
Our next speaker is Leslie Foxx.
Hello, I'm Leslie Foxx. I am representing the Saginaw Housing Commission, where I serve as the Executive Director. I'm here to provide you some insight on what's been going on with the Saginaw Housing Commission, but a little background. The Saginaw Housing Commission has been working for 75 years for providing affordable housing to low-income residents around the city and the county, for public housing and for Section 8. We are currently in the process of redeveloping our public housing stock. And public housing is where residents live in homes that are owned by the Saginaw Housing Commission. And we provide this service for 631 units, and it serves about 850 people. We are looking to redevelop our high-rises and our scattered sites in order to make them more desirable and in line with the private market. As you know, well, for years, the capital funding program, which helps out with capital expenditures of improving the buildings, has been backlogged. There has not been enough funding to maintain the needs of the public housing units. So we are trying this avenue called the Rental Demonstration Assistance Program, and we are trying to redevelop these units. We have identified in our portfolio $40 million worth of construction costs. We're in the process of turning one of our buildings now, Rosing Towers, that's located on South Harrison near the Sheriff's Department. We are applying for tax credits for this purpose. However, we may end up with a gap of funding. And so all of these projects may end up with a gap of funding. And in order for us to close a deal, we'll have to find funding to make this possible. And again, it's more for the residents. We want to ensure that they have amenities that are comparable to the private market. We want to ensure that they have internet access, fitness centers, playgrounds. We want to make sure the buildings are safe and adequate for them. So again, this process takes a long time, but we're in the process of closing for Rosing Towers if all of the funding goes available next year. But this was just a prelude to all the things that come for public housing. So thank you for your time, and I hope that if you have any questions, I can provide that at a later date.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Audrey Beatty. I didn't see her. Okay, thank you. Jeffrey Bulls.
How's that? Okay. Good evening, city staff, council. Before you, we placed a cap agenda. I'm here to reiterate that this particular cap agenda in reference to ARPA, number one. I'll just keep it short and sweet, as you know, and I thank Mayor Brenda Moore for putting me on that council, on that committee. My call today is for us to be able to finish the job. That job is not complete. We spent time in that committee doing a lot of good work, but it's incomplete. You guys came up with buckets. Us as a committee came up with buckets. I may be wrong. You tell me different. I don't think you guys saw a committee that you put together that we would just come up with buckets. That's an incomplete job. I'm here to, advocate for us completing that job. And as far as other things on the agenda here, particularly, Mayor Moore, you just mentioned public engagement. I'll reiterate that call to go past 3 minutes. We need 5. Please revisit that. Not only that, please allow for the citizens to be able to sign up when they get here. Just like any other public body that's under the Robert's Rules of Order, whether it's the school board or other boards, you can sign up when you show up. I want your phone. I'll take it after the meeting. Also, and the final thing, Ojibwe. Ojibwe has been a contentious issue for over a few years. I think we have enough information, and I think we can revisit the promise that was made with this body that upon cameras being installed there, that it will be reopened. I'll ask for that call to be reconsidered and made. Please open it up for the citizens. That's a very special place for many citizens in this city that go to, especially on Sunday evenings. We'd like to have that back. Also, Cap, for anybody, we have a survey, an ARPA survey. If you're interested in taking it, please get with me. You can get the QR code from me, and we'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for your time.
Our next speaker is Craig Tatum.
Good afternoon, distinguished members of City Council. My name is Craig Tatum. I serve as a member of Saginaw African American Pastors. And today, as you gather to deliberate, I'm asking you to ensure that ARPA funds are fairly distributed. Our city received these funds partially due to the racial makeup of our community, and due consideration should be given to individuals already engaged in the work that meets ARPA criteria. Our places of worship are community centers where we meet spiritual, mental, financial, and physical needs on a daily basis. Our facilities, which contain gymnasiums and technology centers and more, are located within the targeted area for which ARPA funds have been acquired. And so we feel due consideration should be given to proposals submitted to address those needs. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Celine Manan.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Celine Manan. I live at 1514 Milton Street, Saginaw, Michigan. To my honored mayor, city council members, city manager, and staff of our city, I want to thank you for this opportunity to come forth to express this. I'm here on a positive note, and there are many positive things that's happening in Saginaw. The new building that was built in honor of the Goodrich brothers across the street from the farmer's market. The farmer's market is now a showcase place. I've been there several times from activities. Saginaw Valley, Central Michigan is here now. Saginaw High, Saginaw United. I saw the presentation on what that school is going to look like, and we're going to be proud. I mean, airy, and it's facing the river. It's going to be some of the nicest. Then Great Lakes Bay Health Center is building on Court Street. There'll be a health center that provides health care on the justice basis. Irregardless of your race, your income, your insurance, or whatever, we want to provide the high-quality health care that you need. That's a good thing. But out of all of these things, and there's other things I can mention about this city that's great, you know what's great to me and really why I'm here? Is what you did when you appointed a commission from members of this city to help make a decision on how that money is spent. I've studied nations that come up and go down, and one of the important things about nations that thrive and grow is that they respect the value of humans. They expect their input. Now, you're not Putin, are you? No, you expect the input of the people and you value them. One of the hardest things about Saginaw is outside of Saginaw is to have people value us. They don't know the great things that we've done in this city. They don't understand what you've been able to accomplish with a tax cap, an unjust tax cap that put over you, but yet you continue to run the city. You haven't polluted the water like they've done in Flint and been taken over by emergency managers like they've done in many other cities where African Americans are here. You've been able to rise above those things. Don't fall back. That is a sign of great leadership when you involve the people in the community to help make the decision. I don't care what they say, because you always have people in higher position that want to bring the money to go where they think they should go, and they don't respect the input of the people in this city. They underestimate Saginaw, call it Saganasty. They underestimate what we can do, and we don't understand what we have been able to achieve as a city. I'm proud to say you didn't take me over with emergency manager. You didn't have to come and talk about the water being polluted. You didn't have to do any of that. That's because we stood under those tremendous burdens that have been placed on us. So you did right when you appointed these people and respect the input. You want me to go?
15 seconds.
Okay. Thank you for your time. Hey, and I'm leaving. Y'all better invest in a clock that we can see. That won't hurt. And made that decision.
See? I was shot down on that. Thanks, Celine. Yes.
I need to apologize, and I should have done that in the beginning. Our mic system is out. And if you notice, we are monitoring, but something is going on. And so that's why you don't see mics in front of us, and you might have to talk a little louder. It's because the system is out. And I should have apologized before we started, so I'm doing it now. I do apologize for the inconvenience that some people may have. No, thank you, Celine. Great job. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Danita Dorsey.
Good evening. I'm Danita Dorsey. I am here representing Community Alliance for the People. $52 million in federal funds have been allocated to the city of Saginaw for over a year, and thus far, no one has received funding except the city. In fact, they've received half. The $52 million was meant to be transformative for residents in the city of Saginaw, but instead, this process has been ill-defined and badly executed, making residents feel confused, lied to, and left out. Where is the transformational programming for us? Because it is not in the report that you have received. Trusted city partners should receive ARPA dollars to invest in transformational programs for our kids, elders, and community. The YMCA is not a trusted partner. The Boys and Girls Club is not a trusted partner. Those organizations have a history of serving a certain set of residents, leaving out residents from the city. Our churches, our local nonprofit organizations, our community centers and programs like the CAC are the people that we trust and need. We need organizations like First Ward, CAC, the Wolverine Headquarters, Youth Development Corporation, Mission in the City, Parishioners on Patrol, Saginaw African American Pastors to receive funding so they can continue to bring relief to the north side, south side, and east side of Saginaw. Our residents should not have to give up residential land and property where people live in order to get business development. We believe in development, just not displacement. We don't need or want rezoning. We want reinvestments in our forgotten communities. We have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to entice business development by listening to our citizens and investing in our neighborhoods. Tim Morales, a year ago, you said these words, and I quote, "We understand that $52 million in funding can transform a city. It is my goal and the goal of City Council to utilize these funds to positively impact this community for generations to come. We are always open to listening to input from the community. If you truly meant this and wasn't given just a political soundbite, hear us today when we say the current recommendation that you have is not what we want or need. These are unprecedented dollars that we cannot afford to mishandle. Respectfully."
Our next speaker is Eric Eggleston. Eggleston. Sorry, Eric, I do that every time you come.
That's okay. Good evening, City Council, employees, residents of the city of Saginaw, and all that was involved in this process. My name is Eric Eggleston. I'm at 1913 Amherst in the city of Saginaw. I'm also the CEO of Youth Development Corporation that's located downtown Saginaw, servicing those who are 16 to 24, high school dropouts, as well as those who are involved in our justice system. With that group, what we've been able to do in the city since we started, and we started January 1st, 2020, and we've been going strong since then. So what have this disconnected, underserved population been able to do? If you take my name out of it, because I understand who I am and how some folks might not like my approach, but if you take me out of it and you just look at the results for those young people that we've dealt with that couldn't be served by no one else, we are building homes in our city that are 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, affordable housing. Young men, young women are graduating from high school that dropped out. They are purchasing homes in our community. I say that to say, if we are able to receive federal funding in the amount of 1.5, when I read that report, it was disheartening to see a category that said youth development, but Youth Development Corporation wasn't considered. That proposal wasn't considered. When we know what matrix are, we know how to get points, we know how to write programs, and most importantly, we know how to deliver. So when I look, I say to you all as city council, and I also say to the committee, I'm okay with your decisions, but when I come to you and ask you, show me how you can take a YDC and a YMCA or Boys and Girls Club, and then you can't provide to me your matrix on how you came to your decision. And I think every resident that submitted a proposal or organization submitted a proposal deserve to right to understand how out of 400 and some proposals, only a selected few was put in front of you all. That's not transparency. That's not accountability. And that has no credibility. That proposal I reject, and I'm asking you all to do the same. Thank you for your time. And again, may God keep you. You guys got a lot of work to do, and I'm rooting for this city. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Bishop Larry Campbell.
Members and to the mayor. I'm Bishop Larry Campbell. My residence is 2985 Welland Drive in Saginaw, Michigan. I am a pastor of a New Birth Missionary Baptist Cathedral, 3121 Sheridan. I'm also the CEO of Parishioners on Patrol. I'm a member of the African American Pastors. I stand here concerned about the process and direction the funds known as ARPA are headed. As you gather to deliberate today, I'm asking you to consider in particular the many funding requests presented to you that would serve residents for which you received ARPA funding. Most of our places of worship are community centers where we meet spiritual, mental, financial, and physical needs on a daily basis. Our facilities are located within the target areas for which ARPA funds have been acquired. We feel the direction considered should be given to proposals submitted to address the needs. We ask that you give consideration to the YEARN program, a joint collaboration of 7 organizations, which are Strive, Parishioners on Patrol, Heavenly Ram Family Services, Saginaw Full Gospel Temple, New Birth Missionary Baptist Cathedral, World Outreach Center. Those focus is on alleviating problems and challenges children and families face in the target areas in which the city receives funding. We ask that you give consideration to adequate proposals for mission in the city that places a splash park in the heart of the demographic areas you receive ARPA funds for. We ask that you give due consideration to the mentoring program jointly supported by the Saginaw African American Pastors and Michigan Health Improvement Alliance, designed to bring carnivals on Saginaw's east side, help reduce crime while offering gang resolution, literacy training, mental health and counseling, farming intelligence, increase academic performances for your African American males, 7 to 14. As we considered the proposal, you asked for collaboration. You looked at who could collaborate together, and organizations that have been in the community doing work, 501(c)(3)s, and we brought 7 organizations together that have a track record in serving this community. And I, as Pastor Larry Campbell and the parishioners on patrol, would like consideration for these organizations that have come together to ask the city to consider us for funding in this organization. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Roy Manning.
Good evening, Council. Good evening, Council. We are thankful for your presence, our president being here. Much of my spiel has already been spilled, but I would say that there are a lot of great things happening in Saginaw, and then there are a lot of things that could be happening to enhance that. And so I am Pastor Roy Manning of the Corinthian Baptist Church, located in the heart of the city, really the heart of the city, 104 South 10th Street. I'm also moderator of 27 churches in the city of Saginaw. I'm also president of the Wolverine State Missionary Baptist Convention, comprising of 100 churches throughout the state of Michigan. And so saying that, and all the collaboration that we look for and seek for, we are saying that, according to the late Dr. Roosevelt Austin, I think maybe in the history of loans and whatever else in this city, none have gone default. So seemingly these African-American churches in the city have a wonderful, tremendous track record of taking care of their responsibility. So I stand today as a member of the SAAP, also Saginaw African-American Pastors, saying to you, we ask you to be favorable to those who have no one to speak for them. Matter of fact, so many of the issues that have been even discussed last week and today have gone over their heads. Words are used, they don't know how to understand, they don't really understand them, can't interpret them. And so they stand at a deficit. And so I want to encourage you that our places of worship, all these churches, the various gyms, we like recreating the wheel again. Those things have been in place and they've been utilized over the years here in this city. So we just can't have the funding. Heat bills go up and expensive occurred. So, but we would appreciate it that if some of those things would be considered when you use these funds. Now, they said the purpose of these funds is to bring a sense of balance in the city, but how can we have balance in the city, achieve that, when the targeted population of the funds never get together, they are never received, or they have no input. Now, I know my time is getting short like it was last week, so I'm gonna skip some of this, but I would say this here. There are things that Bishop Campbell mentioned from the mission in the city that's going on in this place, in this town, in the location or in the targeted area that we have. But one thing for sure, our belief that the voices of those in the targeted areas for which the city of Saginaw received these funds, I said when the city of Saginaw received the funds, the voices are not being heard, and yet since they cannot speak for themselves, the African-American pastors speak for them. We ask you to demonstrate that you hear them and that you're willing to listen to them, the people. And thank you so much for your time.
Our next speaker is Lynn Vela.
So these don't work? Is that what you're saying? Oh, that one works. My name is Lynn Vela, and good evening, and thank you again for your service. I have been campaigning, knocking on doors, and I've been just about in every community or neighborhood in Saginaw, so I have been witnessing a lot personally. I have been here even last year saying that I'd like to see the ARPA funds go to the citizens. The citizens have kept this city going. And I'm so impressed with everything that's been said already. Citizens who have cared and loved their city, amazing people with volunteer hours of time, money, and prayer, will be receiving, hopefully they will be receiving a sizable portion. So many wonderful things are done by Saginaw citizens, churches, and neighbors working together to create parks with safe playgrounds in all kinds of neighborhoods, from the empty lots where houses have been taken down. Churches, let's see, the playgrounds, a magnificent chess park which I never even knew existed. That blew my mind. And Houghton Jones neighbors creating public gardens and orchards, big orchards for everyone to share. A small house rehab by Love for Veterans, women of color receiving grant to make sure there is good follow-up care for citizens who need mental health care. Bethlehem Temple's drive-in prayer session to stem the tide of gun violence while giving solace to individuals struggling with their own problems. Artists volunteering their time to create murals on electric boxes in the city. So many nice gardens and homes, even with houses disheveled and in need of repair next door. There is hope and love, even with so much that needs to be done. Affordable housing, recreation for teenagers and elderly, services for mental health, care, career counseling, connection, and healthy mentoring. A city needs infrastructure and managing, but it needs heart, hope, and beauty. The environment we live in makes it possible to do more than just exist and survive, but to excel. I meet so many amazing people who want a better Saginaw. The hospitals learned how important the open space and trees of Bliss Park were to its staff during COVID and wants to help beautify this gift with from a former governor. Citizens came out to give their opinions. Governor Bliss wanted Saginaw to have a beautiful, peaceful park to relax and enjoy the gardens. We know the violence has so many causes, but people know that beauty and the spiritual connection of their environment is important for overall health and well-being. Thank you.
Our next speaker is John Millen.
Good evening, Mayor Moore, council members, city staff. John Millen, 508 West Remington. I'm also here to speak about the ARPA funding process, some of the recommendations you're going to receive this evening. I want to add my thanks to the work the committee members have done, but I also want to caution the council and their consideration of the recommendations that this not fall into the trap of being more of the same. It is not an increase in community development block grant funds. It's not to look at doing things the same way. And in that light, I'm going to focus on one area, the housing revitalization component that's being recommended. To cite the program document, that indicates 93% of Saginaw homes as of 2020 were built more than a half century ago. Now that's 93% of the homes. It doesn't say 93% of the owner-occupied homes, because in this city, almost half the homes are non-owner occupied. So our programs up to this date have been focused on owner-occupied housing and with an income component. I'm going to mention something else the document has in it as we need a well-funded housing repair program that could serve disproportionately impacted residents. It's my contention, and I hope you would agree, this funding is because the city of Saginaw and all its residents are disproportionately impacted. We have to consider everyone, everywhere, not based on income. What is the need in the housing revitalization? And in that light, it may include someone who on the surface looks like, well, their income wouldn't qualify them for this type of program. But we have many scenarios. Non-owner occupied housing can include someone temporarily not in residence. They may be in a nursing facility. They may have left the city temporarily to find employment during the past few years, and a relative is living in it. Well, we've all found out here on city council that counts as non-owner occupied housing. And we view that differently, and we can't, because it's the same age housing, it has the same problems. I would like to see some of this money used in, to use the terminology, a micro grant type of program. As I travel around this city, as I have for my entire life, I find one of the biggest problems we have is a very pretty house sitting in front of a totally dilapidated garage. I don't know whether the house is owner occupied or not, but that garage is providing no benefit to anyone. That may only be a $2,500 need, and that's hard to address with programs that we currently have. So I would like to see us look at this component in a new way before we make a final decision. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Edwin Davis.
Good evening, Council. My name is Edwin Davis, and I represent my company called We the People Want Our Freedom and Our Country Back. The reason I'm here is because I've had a chance to travel over the city and talk to over 1,000 people in 7 churches about this ARPA money. I started right from the beginning when we had our first meeting at Kingdom Church, where I seen met a lot of you for the first time, and I saw a lot of people lose a lot of hope over the last 10 months. These funds were supposed to be allocated for people to do better, a new beginning, revitalizing our city. Revitalizing our city, 400 projects is revitalizing this city. Utilizing them to help people in the neighborhoods is what this is all about. That was my understanding of ARPA funds. I read it from cover to cover. It didn't say nowhere where people had to go through dancing through hoops and go through different regulations and all this other kind of crap. We danced through that. I remember submitting a proposal 3 separate times because I had to submit it 3 separate times because the guidelines kept changing. Now we're at a point, folks, where we should be getting the money, where people can utilize. We have some brilliant people in the city of Saginaw. Great ideas, great plans, business plans. That's collaborating with one another. People helping people who got out of prison to restart their lives over again. Facilities, schools. We need education back on our side of school, on our side of town. Rebuilding Saginaw is what it's all about. And rebuilding Saginaw ain't giving it to one particular organization, it's giving it to the people of the community. Because they've lived here their whole life, they've sacrificed their whole life, they've dedicated their whole life. People who own restaurants, people who haven't moved. I know people in my neighborhood been there forever. I see people in this council I went to school with. We know what it's like in the 70s when it was booming, but it ain't like that no more. And the only way we're going to get it back is we have a commitment between the council, the city, and its people to rebuild Saginaw. I have a dream. I'm like Martin Luther King. I have a dream. My dream is to see my city be the #1 city in the country. And I know we can make that happen, working together. We went from a population of 150 down to less than 49,000. The loss of jobs and stuff, we can bring that back. But we have to work together. And until we start working together instead of, I'm sorry. Well, that's pretty much all I have to say, but y'all should consider giving the money to the people of the community because they are the ones that are most affected by this. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Joseph Konsdorf.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Joseph Konsdorf. I am here on behalf of PCI. I'm speaking on their behalf, Proactive Community Involvement. They're a local nonprofit organization heavily involved with serving the community. So I'm speaking on their behalf today. I want to start off with a statement for the Guidehouse. We are concerned that your company isn't properly conducting its business process to ensure the ARPA funds are equitably distributed in Saginaw County, with many residents who submitted proposals stating they never received confirmation or feedback that their proposals were even reviewed. There is also no contact information for the constituents to reach out for follow-up. We believe that this is deliberate and done in poor taste. Please resolve as soon as possible. Now, addressing the chair of the committee, it is our understanding that you lead Saginaw Community Foundation, an organization to which is the sole entity the constituents wish to bypass, as specifically it is an old organization founded in oppression and passing down further oppression by gatekeeping minority groups and organizations, keeping them strategically out of the conversation and out of opportunity. So as the lead, how have you ensured their voices are being heard? What is the metric that you are using to decide who and how to fund? Secondly, with blight and beautification being an age-old issue in this community, how could your community withhold the responsibility to care from the residents who have come forth to do the work, whereas the city outright stated they are unable to perform in the same right? To the council, we humbly ask that you reassert your powers and maintain your commitment to the people. As you are aware, there are groups and organizations who have applied and are awaiting funding support to continue to do this much-needed work. As stated by City Manager Tim Morales on June 21st, 2021, and quote, "We understand that $52 million in funding can transform a city. It is my goal and the goal of the City Council to utilize these funds to positively impact this community for generations to come. The delay is hurting the people. A positive impact would be empowering the residents to do the work for themselves." Thank you, Council, for your time. Thank you, everyone here, for your time. And God bless. Thank you.
Mayor, I want to take a moment for council rules of order on public input item number 5. When they address council, it is to be council as a whole. Nothing will be directed to an individual or anything separate. So the speakers that are coming forward, keep that in mind. You don't direct your comments directly to an individual or company or anything like that. It's to the council as a whole. Thank you. Our next speaker is Alexis Thomas.
Good evening to our mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, staff, and my community. My name is Alexis Thomas, and I'm here tonight to also, well, specifically I'm advocating for a couple community groups, but then to also, since I've been sitting here and listening to all of the public comment, to really just concur with a lot of the statements that have come out tonight regarding how we are allocating and deciding on ARPA funding. But specifically, I'm here to talk about First Ward Community Service and Saginaw STEM, two nonprofit organizations in our community, one over 90 years old and one very young, but there's a strong collaboration between the two, focused primarily on education and the elderly, and the importance of making sure that community centers like First Ward, and there's others, we've got the Neighborhood House, we've got the Northeast, and I don't have the name because I wasn't prepared for that. But anyway, you guys know what I'm talking about. We've got a lot of community centers in the community that serve as valuable places for our youth to come to, safe spaces, and I think that they need to be heavily considered when we're talking about the use of these dollars. But I'm here specifically on behalf of First Ward and Saginaw STEM, two nonprofit organizations that are just doing wonderful things for our community and our youth in this community. So I want to make sure that we keep a focus on education and our youth as it pertains to rescue dollars and the community members and the students and children that they serve. So I don't have a whole lot because, again, everybody said a lot of what I'm feeling right now. I'm thankful that we've got a community that is so invested in our people and what is the best for our community. So thank you for your time. And again, I'm just advocating for all of us to do the right thing as it relates to these dollars in our community.
Our next speaker is Christopher Pryor.
Distinguished councilmen and women, thank you for this opportunity. I'm here. I serve as the pastor of Victorious Believers Ministries. I'm also a member of SAP, Saginaw African American Pastors. So it is a great opportunity to be able to speak to you on today. As it has been stated, our goal is to advocate that some of the monies that are received are given back to the community. And when we speak about that, we're talking about some of the programs of what we've been consistently doing. As a matter of fact, we've played a vital role as an essential process of members coming and making sure that they've been vaccinated, making sure that opportunities are available for them. Some of the programs of what we're looking to initiate is a wonderful mentorship program that will help our young people. So specifically, we've looked at working with Dr. Gwen McMillan McMillan. She's a professor of literacy specialist at Oakland University and a Saginaw resident. I do want to say one of the programs that she started is research-based. And so we've had over 140 community volunteers. So having the funding will assist us. Not only that, we have the opportunity to have the honorable judge who has been a great help to us, M.T. Thompson, who has developed a curriculum that helps our young people. So our goal is to have 100 men mentor our young people in our community. And so we know it takes money to do so. It takes us to be able to expose them to different things in our communities. And so we're asking you, as we are looking to allocate this money, to think about the Saginaw African American pastors. We have gymnasiums where we're able to provide athletic programs for them to be able to be involved. So we know when young people play, what do they do after that? They get tired. And so they don't have the opportunity to run out and do all those other things that potentially they would do. And so these are the types of programs. And you've heard the other programs. We've talked about the partnership with Mahia. We've talked about the Yearn program. All these are beneficial to our community. I would just ask you to remember the Saginaw African American pastors. We have the work, we have the houses to do so, and the people to support. I'd also ask you to remember, we do know that there are a lot of marijuana companies that are coming into our area. We're concerned about that as pastors. We know how it affects our community. And so with that, we'd ask you to think about that. We want to bring businesses that will impact our community, and it's affected our community a lot. So please be considerate of that. If there's additional money, to also look at ways, how do we bring additionals? I've had 2 companies who've come to our church who have asked to invest in the city of Saginaw. Those 2 companies have been shot down. And so I don't know if you know about them, and potentially you do, but this is how we invest that money and can utilize that money to attract companies so that our young people, our adults want to stay and invest here. Thank you for your time.
Our next speaker is Maya Williams.
Good evening. I won't be before you long. I'm Maya Williams, and I'm one of the youth that was participating in the DNR program at First Ward. I really want to stress the importance of this program. It has created a lot of opportunity for the youth and also myself. We have experience traveling to different state parks, helping cleaning up the community, while also participating in programs such as the Black Theater program at SVSU. This working at DNR has created me the opportunity to not only start but continue my own personal business as well, and along with funding for schools such as going to college. As many people have said beforehand, the youth is the future. What you put into the youth is what you get out. So I please ask that you will continue to fund programs such as DNR so that more opportunities can be created for the youth. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Robert Brown.
Hello, Council. My name is Rob Brown, and I work with First Ward Community Center. I'm currently the interim CEO, Executive Director at First Ward at 1410 North 12th Street. Maya Williams, who just spoke to you guys, was one of our students that came through our youth employment program. Our youth employment program has been around since 2012. Since 2012, we've impacted over 500 youth in a positive manner. It fits right into the mission of our First Ward, positively making difference in people's lives. And so I wanted you guys, the council, to see, Madam Mayor and the council, to see how you have positively affected some of our youth. Every time we come to speak to council and or ask or request to council, Vicki Davis has been more than open with helping us to get that set up and getting our youth to actually come to the council, sit in on a session, actually tour a water plant. Just last August 15th, we were able to tour the fire station. And so it's been very impactful. I wanted you guys to see our youth in action because they're going to be the future leaders. Now, we're here today to ask council and the community to come and help us support us at our neighborhood cleanup that we're going to have this Saturday. From 8:30 to 1 p.m. Right near First Ward, we have a community cleanup of an area that's been overgrown for over 10 years. And so we want to tackle that. We want the community to be involved. As most of you know, First Ward has been active in all sides of Saginaw. We helped on the west side, the east side, south side, and of course the north side where we're located. And so this Saturday, we want to invite you guys to come help us with that. We need help with brush removal. We need help with just participation in having bodies. You guys get a chance to see some of our youth in action, and you'll see why our program has made a difference in these youth lives. We have one more student that's going to come up and talk to you, but once again, thank you for your time. We look forward to seeing you on Saturday.
Our next speaker is Corian Pritchett.
Good evening, Council. My name is Corian Pritchett. I'm born and raised in Saginaw, Michigan. I would like to talk about First Ward DNR summer program. The impact on DNR gives youth opportunity to gain knowledge and also gain soft skills and apply them to real world situation and jobs. It also gives youth a chance to make money and learn how to save so they can buy their own school clothes. We did a lot of projects in the community, such as 1 Week, 1 Street, where we were on one street for a whole week cleaning up. A lot of churches was out there, a lot of volunteers was out there just helping the street and making sure it got clean. DNR has been a real impact on me. I have been with DNR for 3 years. I learned a lot the last 3 years. I've met a lot of people, and it's been truly a great experience. And I would like to thank Council, the Mayor, for allowing this program to be funded and to keep going along the way as we continue to be successful. And working for DNR made me realize that anything is possible when you put your mind to it. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Angie Miller.
Good evening, Council. Periodically, I appear before you to let you know what Labor's been working on. In the last month, over 100 backpacks were donated in conjunction with the United Way to organizations such as Youth Protection Council, the Mustard Seed Shelter, Rescue Ministries of Mid-Michigan, City Rescue Mission, and the Underground Railroad. Tomorrow, I'd like to invite all of you and anyone who can hear my voice, along with your family and friends, out to the Saginaw Art Museum, which is located at 1126 North Michigan. From 5 to 7:30, we'll be having our second annual Labor Day picnic. So we'll have live music, fresh hot dogs off the grill, lots of fun, including our very own mayor will be in the dunk tank. She's going to raise us lots of money because the proceeds will be going to Foster Families Navigation and Resource Center, a very good organization. So come out, enjoy the fun, and happy Labor Day. Thank you.
Our final speaker tonight is Peter Anderson. When you're done.
I'm a city resident and homeowner. I've lived in the city most all my life. I live at 115 South Elm Street near the corner of Gratiot and Elm. There's a party store, and about every day I go out and I pick up trash in the neighborhood and that. I also am an avid walker over at Ojibwe Island, that gem that we have in our city. Anybody else enjoy walking at City or over at Ojibwe? I know it was a problem with people parking over there and throwing trash, driving whatever and that. So now gates and posts have been installed to block all vehicles and to block all pedestrian traffic. There's some pictures too that I submitted to the clerk that you should have. And when you walk over there, you have to go around the post. And if you look at the one color photo there, it's dirt. And after rain or during the winter, which I walk all winter long, you're walking through mud and that. Also, it is not handicap accessible. Somebody that parks there can get out of their vehicle with a wheelchair. They can't get through. I think the cheap and simplest fix is put a little asphalt path around there. The other thing that I want to talk about is litter. If you walk the city or Ojibwe, there's a littering sign that says $20 fine. Wow. That's a massive fine, and I'm sure that does absolutely nothing to deter people from littering. There's another picture there. A couple of weeks ago, I was up in Sheboygan area camping, and outside the city limits, there's a sign that says up to $2,500 fine for littering. Rare do you see any trash along the highway streets, and I was riding my bicycle around inside the city and that. It's time to upgrade that $20 fine. I think that's all I got. Thank you very much, everybody.
Mayor, we are now at remarks of council.
Remember, you have 3 minutes as well to speak. We will begin tonight with Councilman Copeland.
Good, everybody. Thank you for, I first want to acknowledge all of our public speakers. I want to say I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate you coming this evening. One of the things preparing for today, I was processing my own emotions about all the information that we were going to receive today and the report and things like that. But a song came to my heart that I hadn't heard in a long time by India Irie, and it was called There's Hope. And I think one of the things that I had to take away from that song was a lot of times when we have conversations like this, it may be uncomfortable, it may be out of the norm, but what it is a sign is that there is hope. And I think the opportunity that we will continue to have is to build on that hope, build on that partnership, and build on that support. Thank you to the pastors, thank you to CAP, thank you to Proactive Community Involvement Funding, thank you to First Ward coming out today, hearing from our young people, thank you to our labor update. I do want to just crack a joke and say I think our mayor just has a thing for dunk tanks because she was at my church this weekend in a dunk tank. So I appreciate that she's out here supporting our youth and supporting our young people, and a great job to Bridge the Gap. I hope I'm saying that right. Feed the City. That was amazing to see see our community come out. I even had to stop by myself to get something to eat. That was my first time attending, and I'm looking forward to how they're supporting the city, as well as, I don't know if I had a chance to talk about the African Arts Festival. It was just, I think we did, but that's just been on my mind. I've been overwhelmed by our community coming together, the events that we've been having, and I pray that we continue to have them. And I do ask that as you continue to do what you're doing, please share your information. I think that a lot of times we can put things online, but a lot of us are not online. Please, if you're having something that's going on, this is your space. Share it with us. Get it to our city staff so we can make sure that whatever is going on in our community, we are aware of. Although I want to be honest, we do have silos at times, so information is missed. And so if we can, whatever you do, please share it with us because we want to be there for you. As a council, I don't want to speak for everyone, but we love our city. We believe in our city. And so we thank you for your trust. I thank you for your trust. I thank you for your support, and I'm looking forward to what will come out of this ARPA dollars, the great things that will come out of our city, because I truly do believe will be a re-innovative time for our city. Just keep the hope, keep faith. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Councilwoman Sylvia.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. First of all, I'd like to say thank you so very much for coming to share, be in the midst. I'd like to thank all of the speakers, and I would also like you to know that I heard you. I plan on, when the council sits down, that I would do the best I can. I will promise you I will do the best I can for the citizens of the city of Saginaw. We all have something to gain and to learn. I know we cannot fund all 400 proposals, but we can look at all 400 proposals. That's our job to do. And I will say, you can have faith that I will definitely do that because that's my job. That's what you elected me to do. There's many other things I wanted to say, but because of time, a lot of things went on in the city, even a program that I did, Let the Youth Speak. I'd just like to say thank everyone that helped with that. I'd like to say to Chief Roof that I wanted to do this once a year. They're asking to do it twice a year, so I may be giving you a call. It was phenomenal to see all of different law enforcement, Secret Service, FBI, City of Saginaw, State Police, Fire Department. I know I missed something, but that's all right. But you would be surprised at the youth and families that appreciated that and wanted that, that connection with law enforcement. So I'll yield my time, and thank you very much, and you have a great day.
Thank you. Next we have Councilman Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. I want to say thank you to everyone that came out and spoke tonight. I appreciate all of your input. I do want to say, Mr. Anderson, with that $2,500 fine, I definitely support that if that's going to help keep our city, cleaner. I want to say to Celine, brother, I appreciate your energy tonight. I really, sincerely do, and that's what we need more of in this city, for people to advocate and speak out for the city of Saginaw the way you displayed tonight. Greatly appreciate you, sir. I also would like to thank the youth that came out to speak tonight. With these ARPA dollars being on the table, and I'm a youth advocate, and I believe in the youth of our city, I want to hear more from our youth in regards to what it is they want. I think it's great that the people that come and speak for our youth, being advocates for, that's wonderful. The thing is, though, we're all adults. We know what we think is good, but I want to hear from our youth because community centers, everything else, I've been out of that game for about maybe 5 years now. So I want to know what they think about it. So I'm putting a plea out there to those that are youth advocates. Please send them my way. Youth, if you are listening, which I hope some are, please contact me. Let me know what you think, what you want for the city of Saginaw. With that, last thing, support our local officers. Support our local officers. If those that out there, if you care enough, adopt an officer. Adopt an officer, somebody that you can encourage and motivate to help keep morale up. It'd be a great thing to do, but support our local police officers. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Councilwoman Finch.
Thank you. Good evening to everyone. I definitely want to express my appreciation to everyone here who spoke tonight. It was nice to see Ms. Vela, who was my partner in crime during the election last August, and it's always nice to see you here. I think that it's worth stating, as far as the ARPA, I think a lot of the stuff that we've heard here tonight, I certainly am taking it all to heart and taking it all in. But I think it's worth reminding everybody that the committee was assembled to be general and make general recommendations. So I just hope that we can assure the public that no decisions have been made and no one's been excluded. I think we got a general recommendation, and people looked through it for their name to be listed in there as a recipient, and when they saw it, they assumed that they were being excluded. So the process is not over as far as that goes. It's now our turn to lead and do the job we were elected to do. And I'm looking forward to doing that, and I'm looking forward to continuing to having an open door to the community and making sure that I'm accessible and available to them so they can bring their ideas forward and continue to be heard. And if you haven't felt heard, then take the opportunity to get our cards after the meeting and talk to us, please. I do want to give some praise to my colleague Monique here. She mentioned the event, the Let the Youth Speak event, and I had the opportunity to attend when I didn't think I was going to have the opportunity. And I took my kids, and I just have to say it was such a well-organized event. She did such a wonderful job. I mean, from everybody, the vendors and everything. But that was just a wonderful event, and I really want to make sure she gets her kudos from somebody else up here. And I think that's all I have. I definitely support raising any fine that would help deter littering. I know that's been a big struggle for a lot of people. But yeah, and as far as ARPA, I guess the only thing I want to weigh in on one way or the other is that for me, through this whole process, sustainability is really important, because sustainability means that we are going to reap these benefits for generations to come, and that's what we want. We want this to be more than just a year or two's worth of spending. And through that, and I don't hear people talk about it enough, and I think it's something that's really important that's kind of getting lost, is whatever we do, we have to be thinking about growing our population. We know that we've lost people. We know that if we don't stop that, we're going to continue to lose population. So many of our problems become solvable, or solve themselves in some cases, when we have a tax base that actually can support the needs of the community. So I just hope that the public, keeps that in mind when we're doing our deliberation, that's something I'm thinking about. How do we sustain our population and make sure that we have people here to serve? So that's all I have. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Next we have Councilwoman Scherzer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's always hard being at the tail end of council comments, because a lot of your points have been touched on, but I always say this: it is absolutely wonderful to see a packed house, to have public input that is filled with passion and commitment, because we do all love our city and we want to hear what everyone is thinking, what is going on, the things that you're in need of, especially when it comes to the ARPA money, because it is transformational money. This is money that is going to make impacts in areas in our community with sustainability to last for generations. So it's not easy. This is a tough situation, but an awesome opportunity in the same sense. And I can tell you that I am committed, that I will be 100% transparent, but also very diligent in the decision-making process because of those reasons that I just stated. I want to also support $20. People look at that and say they'll never, I don't have to pay the $20, so I do support increasing that. And that can be in any of our parks, not just Ojibwe, because our parks, there are parks. So we need to step up and take responsibility, but also accountability in what we're doing. And especially if you see somebody doing something they shouldn't be doing. It takes us to say something to make it stop. I do want to give Pastor Tatum, my fraternity brother, a big shout out, because this past weekend the Divine Nine organizations, the Greek letter fraternities and sororities, had our annual Greek picnic, and my fraternity brother, Pastor Manning, and then not my fraternity brother, but a fellow Greek, Pastor Laffoon. All three of them were there, well, a part of the organizations, but if you have not been to Mission in the City, that is a gem. It is a hidden, I won't even say it's a hidden gem, it is just a gem. And he was so gracious to allow us to host the Greek picnic there this past weekend. Councilman Copeland, I don't know where you were, but, so I just want to say thank you to you for opening your facilities and for everything that you've done to transform that section of town, that community. It is absolutely wonderful. Other than that, I will try my best to make it back in town from work to try to dunk you with all my love tomorrow. That's all I have.
I can tell who my friends are sitting up here.
That's right.
It's for a good cause.
Next week, thank you so much. Next we have Councilman Flores.
Thank you, Mayor. Hello, Saginaw. Thank you so much for all the speakers today, for sharing your thoughts and what's in your heart. That's amazing. A shout out to Celine. He's an amazing neighbor. I think one time when you picked me up, manager, you said, "Do you know Celine?" I was like, "I think so," but we've lived next to each other for 8 years. He has a library, so if you guys want to get a book or give a book, it's over on Milton. It's a community library. It's something that he facilitates on his porch. I don't want to give your exact address out, but you're an amazing person. It's always good to see you here. A shout out to Community First, who had held the movie Under the Stars on Friday. They had shown Princess and the Frog, which has to do with New Orleans. I'm not sure who was paying attention last meeting, but I went to South Carolina after I'd gone to this meeting last time, and it's just it's good to see that type of culture coming to Saginaw. And it was great to see Mr. Glenn Wilson, who's from Flint, come and contribute to the city. So if anybody wants to get a hold of him or contribute to Community First, reach out 810-422-5358, or just go to communityfirstinc.org. But they do a lot of great things for Saginaw. I got a ride here today because it was raining from a total stranger. His name was Daniel. He was 24 years old. I had these ARPA papers that I've been carrying around for the past couple days, and I asked him, I was like, what's the one thing that you want to see in Saginaw change if we could? And he said, nothing. I'm leaving. There's no hope for us. I'm taking off. And that's incredibly disheartening. Yet, from what I heard today, we have a lot of hope. The report that we have is, like Councilwoman Bench said, just a foundation. And it is up to us to allocate the funds in the appropriate way when we're targeting making sure that people that grow up, like Daniel, don't want to leave the city. And they want to make sure that, you know, their home is Saginaw and that they'll continue to believe in us. So, really, I think other than that, I'm not going to be able to make the dunk tank thing, but I'll pay anybody $50 to dunk the mayor. So get after me after the meeting, and I'll give you the money. All right, thank you.
Oh my God.
Y'all got jokes. Next we have Mayor Pro Tem Foxx.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. And I concur with the rest of my fellow city council people with the event that's going on tomorrow to help raise funds for that worthwhile organization. I mean, I thank Brenda for doing what she's doing to help do that. I'd like to thank everybody that came and spoke today, because everybody cares about the city of Saginaw that's here today, and that's a beautiful thing. I mean, we all may have different views on how we think the things should be, but we are coming here to express our views to the city council, to make sure that these ARPA dollars go into places that we know that our community needs tremendously. We know that we got crime in the city of Saginaw. We know that we don't have enough people mentoring people, because we have generation. We have, I know for a fact that we have 3 generations of some families that's locked up. The males in the family, 3 generations. Now you think about that. 3 generations of fathers locked up in the city of Saginaw. That's disheartening to me. So we got a chance with these ARPA dollars to put some money in these community centers and make sure that we can stop that. I mean, within a 2 or 3 year, we got 3 years to spend this money. I'm sure we can change the projection of some of these youths where they will never have to go to jail. They will never think that they got to go to jail or do something negative to impact their lives where it will hurt them and generations to come. 3 generations of fathers in jail. We got to stop that. And the only way we can do that is by mentoring our youth, send them to good churches. We got males there that's talking to them. I've been in the Big Brothers and Sisters program for over 30 years. Why? Because I know that mentoring works. Mentoring don't mean nothing but touring a child through life. You take him so far and you change the projection where he don't have to do anything negative. Or let him know that the things that his family did, that he don't have to repeat them, or that his father may not have been a bad guy or something like that. Give him some high self-esteem. These ARPA dollars can do that to our community. It can change these kids' lives. So we picked a committee. We picked the committee, Mr. Bull. It wasn't just the mayor. It was we that picked the committee. The mayor, myself, and the city manager picked some people, and then we came in, we brought it to the city council, and they approved the committee. So we wanted to make sure that we had a well-crossed section of the community, people that was involved in doing charity work and other people who have not done it, to put them together so they can do this. Now, once that committee did what they did, we did that so they can do it, and then they got to bring it back to us, and then we'll be the ones that approve it. We're going to look at the rest of the proposals and find out what buckets we want that money to go into. We appreciate you guys for doing the work y'all did, but that's not the final say. The final say rests right here with the city council right here. So hopefully we'll get together and do the right thing for the citizens of the city of Saginaw and for generations to come. Because if we don't do it, it's on us. So, thank you.
Last but not least,
Maybe 3 more minutes.
it is really, really repetitious. I do thank all of our public speakers tonight. You know what? I just wish that we could have it full like this all of the time without money. Where you just come and do what you did tonight, and it don't have to have a dollar sign on it. One of the things that Saginaw is good for, it is good for bouncing back. I've been here all my life, and I've seen the ups and downs, but we still standing. No matter what people say about us, we're still standing. I heard my fellow council person, so they let me know how they really feel, okay? Because everybody's into this donking. Yes, I do it. Why do I do it? I'm a servant. You asked. All you got to do is ask me, and I normally do it. I went to VBM, and thank you so much, Pastor Pryor. I didn't mind being dunked. I wasn't going to be slimed, because I didn't like that. All I thought about was my hair. But I didn't mind being dunked in your water, because your water was warm. Okay? Tomorrow, Miss Miller, that water better be warm. Because if it's not, do y'all understand I'll go into a culture shock. And I'll be sick for days. Hear me well. I'm not going to keep saying this over and over again to anybody. I am not apologetic about how much I love this city. I am not apologetic. And I will not be apologetic. I need you to understand. It is a new day, and it's a new season. And so for all of you who got all of this doubt about ARPA, trust me. The recommendation has come in, and that's all it is a recommendation. We don't plan to move tonight to make any decisions. So, now, Pastor, y'all quit calling me, because we haven't made any decision. We plan to do it as soon as we can. On Sunday, the 4th, we did it last year, we're doing it this year. We're going to the bridge again. At 2 o'clock, we will be at Bolshire Park, and we will have our praying session, and then an hour and a half, Pastor Campbell, and then we will take the bridge. If you weren't there last year, trust me, it was beautiful. We had churches from the north, the south, the east, and the west that participated. And we had young people, and it was a good time. So my African-American pastors, I'm leaning on you. But they say I'm leaning. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
We are now at the reports from the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor, and it appears we need new signs in the park because the fine, it's a 90-day misdemeanor for littering and up to $500 in cost. So the 25-year-old fine must be a pretty old sign that we have there. And I know we want to get to the presentation here, but I had a few items to update on in case people did not see this, but the City of Saginaw Fire Department received an infant safe sleep certification from the state of Michigan last week. The Saginaw Fire Department is only the second fire department in the state of Michigan to be safe sleep certified. Fire department was joined by representatives from the Emergency Medical Services for Children and the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. So if you want to find out more about that program, you can contact the fire department directly. And also, I wanted to mention the Small Business Expo 2022 was at Morley Plaza last week with an emphasis on shop local. The expo featured over 50 small business vendors, so I wanted to congratulate Ms. Yolanda Jones and Keisha Smith and the rest of the staff for a successful event. And if more information about the services that SEDC does provide to small businesses in the city, please call Keisha at 759-1395. I think that's, and the Mayor Pro Tem and I talked about this morning. I think a lot of the small businesses can get assistance at the SEDC. They just need to make that call and contact them. There's loan money available, and they have it ready to loan to start those small businesses. I also want to thank the ARPA committee for the work that they have done and the time they've given the city. A lot of people commented about the committee, but they were meeting on a weekly or bi-weekly basis for several months. They all put a lot of time into this, and not only their own committee meetings, they did go out into the public from their own communities of interest. If council recalls, when we did set this up, and Mayor Pro Tem mentioned, we wanted to select people that represented various communities of interest so they could bring that to the committee. So part of their job was to bring that insight and for those committee members to go out and engage the people that they work with on a daily basis. So that's what we hope to bring with the committee, but we also have to remember the goal was to bring back these buckets to try to align with City Council's goals that they set up during our strategic planning session, not necessarily to allocate all the funding out to organizations. And also remember that I've heard this a few times, but this is not the Guidehouse report. This is the committee report. The committee did vote on these items. Guidehouse is a facilitator for the committee, and I think we have to remember that when we talk about the report. But again, it's going to be back on City Council. I know you all will work on how we start allocating the funds out. And with that, David is here from Guidehouse, so I'd ask him to come up and provide his presentation.
All right, hello, City Council.
Hello.
First of all, I want to as well thank the committee members. They put a tremendous amount of work in. They all came very passionately to each meeting. There was a lot of disagreement, and I think that's a good thing. So there were a lot of opinions and perspectives brought to each of those meetings. This was not a unified process from that standpoint, and again, I believe that is a good thing. The other thing that's been noted multiple times that I want to also add to this is that we did not have a scoring matrix, though many individuals did create their own scoring matrices and did score all proposals themselves. So they did vet these proposals, they understood what was in each proposal, but we wanted to value the diversity of opinions at that table, and creating a single scoring matrix would have itself, I think, been very challenging. So as we get into this, I just wanted to go through the process and a reminder of kind of where we started and where we went. From the very beginning, we had the inputs of the survey that was originally done and the council priority groups that were laid out here. And then each of those committee members brought their own insights to the table, and that was kind of our starting point. We then went on a divergent kind of thought process here, which expanded on what those priority groups could mean in practice for the city of Saginaw, which we did report on last time we were here. That kind of broke each thing out in a lot of different ideas so that could help prompt the community as they started putting proposals in. We then engaged the community with many community meetings, soliciting many proposals that were all collected from the community. We then took all of that and tried to converge back down to that final recommendation we've got here, to get as specific as we could get while still holding consensus of the group on what we wanted to see put forward in front of you. So what I'm going to now do is I've got kind of one slide on each of the recommendations where I can kind of walk us through it and then maybe take any questions we've got on that individual recommendation, and we can work through that way. Are there any questions before I proceed? Great. So the number one, so just to be clear here, we've got a priority score, which what we simply did is took all recommendations and I just surveyed the whole group and created an average score, and that's how this is ranked. So we're going to start with technically the highest score, the lowest number, which would be 2.63, community centers, childcare, and youth development, and we did allocate a general $10 million to this. We heard a lot of comments today, but at the end of the day, the discussion was about the youth in Saginaw and how do we invest in the youth in Saginaw. And this was specifically looking at collaboration across these areas of community centers, childcare, and youth development to do that, and kind of allowing that next step to be left with you, City Council, on how that collaboration can potentially happen. One of the things that this really does is it focuses on those disadvantaged communities because it is required to be either within a qualified census tract or must serve people from a qualified census tract. So that is really baked into anything you would do in this area. And then the final thing I want to point out here is that we recommend looking at capital investments from a operational standpoint, because we do have funding cliffs in front of us, and we talk about sustainability. By focusing on capital investments, you're able to allow the programming to go forward as its own budget line with no funding cliffs at 2026, but the infrastructure has been invested in, and that can ripple out into the future, so those organizations don't have to worry about the overhead of a new roof, for instance. So that's how that lays out. And at the bottom, we tried to identify the priority groups this overlaps with and those goals that were laid out. There were 3 goals, and if they overlap with those. Any questions on this one? Is the biggest one. It is the number one priority that came out of the committee. Yeah.
The priority score is a high number, right?
Right.
So you're telling me that priority score of 2.63, that would be a low score, am I right?
So it'd be like the number one idea. If everyone said 1, it'd be a 1. Okay. Working down, right? Yep.
For one of the 4 categories for the ARPA funds to be allocated, this would be under public health and safety?
This would be a mix of things. There's education, dealing with education differences that happen specifically due to COVID. Childcare itself is its own area, so this is a mix of a lot of different eligibility categories, but all is very eligible within the framework of ARPA, regardless of how we report on it.
So if it...
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Can we get through the report and then come back? And then, please, council persons, you need to be recognized. Just blurting out, that's not following our rules, and nor is it following Robert rules of order. So if you guys don't mind, can we get through it so that we can ask our questions then? Yes, Mr. Flores.
Are you asking for questions now or later?
Well, and we can go in this direction too, so we could either go through the whole thing and do questions at the end, but...
It's the end.
He's asking if we have any questions. Just, I want to get a good idea of how you want to do it.
What's the pleasure? What's the pleasure of the council?
It's up to you. It's your decision.
Okay, so don't ask us.
I think what is getting ready to happen is this. We need to hear your report. If you've got questions, can you jot them down? And then when you have your questions, I need to acknowledge you before you speak. and you'll only have 1 or 2 questions at one time, I need everybody up here to be able to not feel like they got left out. So, David, can you please continue? Thank you.
Okay, so the next one, housing revitalization. So housing revitalization, we talked a lot about housing in general. I want to be very clear that the committee is not rejecting other ways to deal with housing in the city, whether that might be new affordable housing units or dealing with, rental units. But we did end up trying to hone in on a specific thing here, which would be focusing on owner-occupied housing to mitigate both the degradation of existing housing stock, which would both assist with existing housing, but also would deal with blight remediation, which was something that was discussed significantly in our committee meetings. And then finally, this again would focus on disadvantaged communities. But one thing I want to echo a comment made earlier today. The rules on the housing projects that you can do under ARPA are broad. And so you are able to reach people that you can't reach under your existing housing programs that are federally funded. And so they're so broad, you could spend all your money in this and not spend a dime anywhere else. So it will be a lot of program design. That's going to be a really important thing as we get into this, into the details on how you'd like to do that. The next one is a very specific behavioral health clinic. This is kind of stepping a little bit into a specific proposal that was brought up, but it was a unique idea in terms of capital investment into a new mental health facility. This is going to build capacity for mental health services here in the city that would be available to the residents, while also being part of a larger economic development in that medical corridor that I'm sure has been discussed in many other ways. So this was brought up with a $5 million investment. Arts and culture. This was a $1 million investment. The idea, this was, we are pulling slightly from a proposal here, but not recommending the proposal. Pulling from a proposal that says, let's create a smaller grant program. There were a lot of cultural organizations, arts organizations that requested funding. By creating a separate grant program specifically for that, we can create a narrowly tailored program that can run through 2026 to fund those programs and those organizations. There we go. Parks, we discussed parks a lot. There were an enormous amount of parks proposals that came through. What we're focused on here is funding existing parks. We don't want to add to the overhead for the city, and so that's really important as we, again, think of sustainability. How are we going to make sure we can fund these things in the future? So how can we focus on bringing existing parks up to the standard you'd like to see them at, and invest in those? And the 4 that are specifically pointed out were the 4 most proposed parks: Ojibwe, Wicks, Bliss, and Hoyt. And again, this is focused on disadvantaged communities because it really needs to be in a qualified census tract, again, just from a regulatory standpoint. There we go. We spoke at quite a bit of depth on the food desert challenges in Saginaw and how we could solve those. And there were a lot of different ways to go about that. This is a choice that was made that does 2 things at once. It both kind of solves a food desert, but also deals again with blight remediation. If you could find a vacant building that maybe was rehabbed to hold, for instance, a grocery store, or as recommended in the report, perhaps a co-op or a not-for-profit, but something that could deliver those fresh fruits and vegetables to a community that is in a food desert, this could do that, well, as I said, also mitigating blight. I also want to be clear on this. This would also allow the city to own the building into the future. So if that organization went under, the asset is still owned for the purpose of removing that food desert. So I think that that's an important caveat there. This was a group that was brought up. We received proposals that dealt with foster care, transition care, and elder care. And the committee simply felt that these are 3 important groups of people that are often overlooked, and that this is a great opportunity to direct funding towards those groups to support them. Neighborhood associations. There are 16 neighborhood associations. This idea is simply saying, what if we gave a $100,000 grant to each neighborhood association? This would go a long ways into furthering grassroots capacity as well, as they give that money to those local neighborhood associations and let them choose to do what they want to do with the funds, as long as they're, again, within the scope of what's allowable under ARPA. And I will note the Saginaw Community Foundation has already voiced support in building that capacity through this process. And finally, the fairgrounds. Now, this was split out from the other parks recommendation because this is not an existing park. And we did receive a lot of very detailed proposals on the fairgrounds, and it was very important to the committee that this get broken out. So what we looked at funding here was really, in one of the proposals was a phase 1, but basically the price here to clear the space and make it ready for future investment in that property, whatever that ends up being. And there are, again, a lot of proposals on what that could be, but this is just about getting it up to a place where it could move to the next step. And I believe that is, and the next steps. But before we get into next steps, why don't I stop there?
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. When you speak about the neighborhood associations, and there being 16 of them, can you please elaborate? Because I kind of went, when you said that they could choose what they wanted to do with the funding, long as it was, I guess, ARPA followed the rules, etc. That's kind of very, my opinion, like, ooh, so.
Right. So what that could kind of look like is one neighborhood association could decide that they would like to put money into a local park that they've got, or they could decide that they really want to do some blight remediation in their neighborhood. You know, they want to clean up a lot. They want to do something like that. Another neighborhood association could decide that they would like to spend the money on youth programs in the community. So basically, almost everything we've kind of talked about, they get to make a local micro decision that's right for that neighborhood.
Second question to go with that. So would that be the discretion of the council or just that neighborhood association?
So in this recommendation is that council is essentially would pass 1.6 million of ARPA funds, and then that would be allocated, and then from that point forward, that neighborhood association would get to choose what to do with the funds.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Ms. Flores, you wanted to say something.
First? You want to go first? I'm sorry.
Okay. No, I said Mr.
Oh,
Flores.
okay. I had a couple questions about just the content of the report. With the arts and culture, there was no designation for the original survey. I know that there was some conversation on March 23rd about kind of looking at the survey data, but then also making these subgroups. When I'm looking at the allocations of total funds, say that we need $4 million for a grocery store, and we're allocating $2 million. And we know that that's been designated as a priority. Mm-hmm. How did something that wasn't on the radar get $1 million allocation?
It just simply, the committee felt that it was a great use of funds. We had a significant amount of nonprofits, as I said before, arts and culture organizations that would be eligible to receive funding under support for nonprofits, okay? Mm-hmm. So the committee felt like this was a great way to reach out to those organizations, make funds available for them. Does that answer your question?
Well, in the report it says, while the final rules do not explicitly mention arts and culture.
Yes, but as I said, support for nonprofits. So they would have to be nonprofits, and again, if you decided to move forward with something like this, we would create a narrowly tailored program that was within the rules. But as I said, we had many nonprofits that applied for funds, and that's what would be available.
And you would put it under public health?
No.
That's what it says in the report.
There's a specific eligibility category for support for nonprofits.
It goes back to the interim final rules that allow recipients to provide direct assistance to nonprofits that experience public health or negative economic impacts. So it wouldn't be under public. Where would it go if it's not under the?
I don't know how else to answer that question.
Okay.
Okay.
But that, we're still recommending that it gets $1 million, but you didn't know where.
I'm not. I want to be very clear. The committee decided that arts and culture, due to the amount of proposals it received, should be looked at with this $1 million program.
Okay.
Keep in mind, councilpersons, this is just only a recommendation. We can flip this. What the whole design was, as Mayor Pro Tem indicated, it was to give us a start base so that we would have something to work with. So there's probably gonna be a lot of questions that you get, Mr. David, that you're not equipped to answer right now. And so we're gonna have to table it until we all get together. And then we can come back in front of the audience and the audience will understand.
I'd also mention that as I said, Guidehouse was the facilitator, so this is not what they are saying to spend the funds on. This is the committee's recommendation. So we would have to evaluate everything in there to make sure it's eligible and to fit it into the guidelines. And when we do our reporting, that's where we have to report out. There's been a lot of talk about all of these eligible expenses. There's probably a good portion of those 400 applications that aren't eligible expenses either. So there's a lot of work left to be done to go through all of these things to make sure that they fit into all of the categories. And it is a lot of work to categorize them and report out. We have limited reporting now because we haven't spent that much funding, but it's taking probably 3-4 hours to report on what we've done so far. So this is going to be a long and arduous process, I think, going through all of these.
Just 1 minute, Mr. Flores. Let me get Mr. Copeland, and then if nobody else has anything, then we're gonna come back to you.
Thank you for your presentation. I was looking at this, and one of the questions that I had, especially based on what we were talking about, growth, businesses in the community, that's gonna be we need jobs. So I see a lot of this is revitalizing our housing, revitalizing our community centers. Was there anything from the committee that was shared that would focus on our businesses, that would support some businesses and providing opportunities?
There wasn't, because in the discussion, I think, and I don't want to overly generalize the committee, because like I said, there were many different opinions in the room. But I think overall, as we talked about how could you go in a different direction, it kept going towards the youth. And that's where, as you can see, the $10 million in that category. And so I think as you will all find, you got to cut something. And so that's kind of something that got cut. But I do want to speak on businesses. Economic development itself is not eligible. There are certain business grants you can do, but straight up economic development is actually not eligible and is explicitly called out in the final rule. So that's one point there.
It was the business grants I was thinking about. So.
Yeah.
Councilwoman Bench.
Yeah, just I think, pretty simple one. Was the committee's vote to make this recommendation unanimous? And if so, did we have full attendance? Was everybody included on the committee when the vote was had?
Let's see here. So the report you've got in front of you, the draft was put in front of everyone. A draft of that was put in, I believe, 2 meetings before the end, where everyone had, I think, at least 3 weeks to comment on things and for us to cut and adjust things. We at least had a quorum at every meeting. And then at the final meeting, we went through it. And again, we went through it basically line by line. And I asked if anyone's got an objection, speak now, and we will discuss it. I don't think we really had a situation where someone wasn't heard. We didn't feel like we could make an adjustment to that person's need if that person was there in the room to speak for themselves. Yep.
Anybody else? Anybody else? We good? Mr. Flores, you had another question?
Thank you, Mayor. So the report was authored by Guidehouse?
Right.
Okay. And there was a unanimous decision by the committee to okay it? Just a yes or no?
The people who were there all voted, yeah, there was not an official vote. So the people who were all there all accepted the report.
It's just a yes or, I'm sorry, so no, I would say no? Okay, all right. With the proposal that you had given to the council originally, there was a talk about the stakeholder network.
Yeah.
I don't see anything in here that brings in other stakeholders that were identified. It was on page 7 of your proposal.
Man.
You know.
Yeah, I don't have that memorized, sorry. But I will talk about stakeholders, actually. So one of the things that we're doing, and I'm just going to go into next steps then, is we're also looking at what other people can we bring to the table. So we've been in discussions with the school district. They are going to be putting some money towards a project as long as the county is willing to meet the city somewhere. And so we've actually gotten more money out of the schools than was originally discussed. We're working with the county on trying to find that overlap, and we found some opportunities for overlap. We're still in working on that. And actually, last Friday, we had a meeting with a lot of the foundations that fund Saginaw programs, and talked about how they could be part of potentially these programs as they move forward, so we can again grow the amount of funds that are actually being put towards these recommendations.
And which program was that?
Right now we are in a general discussion, but I would say most of them are around the youth development area, but I can't speak in specifics at this point.
So we'd be able to have a stakeholder network be able to lessen the burden of that $10 million and maybe allocate it elsewhere. So the report's really not finished, is that?
This step of the report's done. So this is what the committee's done, right?
Okay.
The committee has made their recommendation, and now there are further steps, right? Where we bring in other funding. You all, I'm sure, have a point of view, and we kind of start to bring that all together into a final plan.
So there'll be a second report?
Let me say this. Councilman Flores, we're in the planning stage. The committee, as we agreed, was to give us a base guideline. We're not following everything that they said. We need to look at the entire report. The committee has already indicated on several occasions we have not looked at all of the proposals. The groups, everybody that sits up here, I gave an assignment that in the buckets that they perform for us, and you are going to be in your bucket. And you have to convince, you will get the whole entire package, but you'll also be asked with the help of Guidehouse to guide us in that process on what we can do, what we can't do. Keep in mind, again, this is just a presentation letting us know that they have began the process. Right. This is not going to be an overnight thing. We can't do it, because if we do, that's going to be an injustice. If we put a time frame, we're going to do it in 2 weeks. It's not going to happen right. I already know that. And everybody up here should accept that. There were some recommendations that they made. We're going to have to make some adjustments and take funds in another direction. But we need to understand, and that's going to be something that we all will come together with the public's help, because we've got the community people who said, we're going to help do this. And for people to say, you sat on the committee and you didn't agree, I beg to differ. Mr. David.
Yeah. So I'd love to just make a recommendation on next steps, because as this can become a lot of proposals, a lot of ideas. So one of the things that, if we can think through, here's a set of recommendations. What are anything that you might want to add to that list that you all have been thinking about? And how can we find the greatest points of consensus, right? Of things that maybe everyone on city council actually really wants to do, and not focus on the things you disagree on, but focus on the things you agree on. And then make a set of cascading decisions. So let's, for instance, say everyone up here was like, we got to do something about housing, and that was the one thing you all agreed on. You start with housing. Let's have a discussion about housing. Let's work through that. Let's identify funds, and let's get them out the door, right? And then work your way down on that cascading decision process. Because, everyone seems to say at the same time we got no time, and at the same time we got all the time in the world. But I'm telling you, you got no time. Let's get some money out the door, because you want to start doing the process of getting contractors for things, signing contracts, getting the programs running, getting the construction started. There's a lot of things that need to happen. It's hard to spend this amount of money when you're not used to it. So that's my big recommendation of find your points of consensus and work quickly down that list.
Any questions?
Comment.
Yes.
I want to thank you for being the guidehouse that guided the committee to bring up these proposals that they had. We appreciate the work that they've done, and now it's time for us to do our work. So we will, I'm sure Madam Mayor will let you know that we're going to get back with you so we can get the rest of the work done.
Yes,
and thank you for this. There ain't no sense us beating you up on what process they went through, how many people voted for this and that, because it's just a committee. They've done their job. Let them do. They've done theirs. Now it's time for us to do ours. We'll take their suggestions, digest them, and then we will regurgitate what we want to happen.
Yes, Mr. Flores.
Thank you. I appreciate the work that you do. I really do. And I don't mean to be hard. From what the proposal that you had given us back when you first introduced yourself to us, I'm not seeing what you had promised the city. And the report that I've been given and I've looked over doesn't match with the work that you promised the city to give. Just all fairness. So
okay.
I hope to see either an additional report or some fruits of this labor, rather than this is just general stuff citing different programs that we already knew the language to. So just to let you know.
I hate to interrupt, but Councilman, this is a report from the committee. That's all this is purported to be. This isn't all of the work that Guidehouse is going to do on ARPA. This is a report from the committee that council voted to set up and appointed people to. Period. That's it. They're going to do a lot more work. Right. Guidehouse is the facilitator for that committee. I mean, I'm not sure I understand David's frustration, because I don't understand your points either.
I'm speaking Spanish then. This is from...
No, you're not.
This is from Guidehouse. They drafted this report, correct?
On behalf of the committee, and this does not represent all of the work that they will do for council. And to me, I think you're the only one on council who's not understanding this.
No, I understand it plenty. Huh?
You don't facilitate.
Absolutely.
Why are we having this conversation?
Go ahead.
Yes, Mr. David.
Thank you.
To go down a road. I'm always prepared. Yeah. Yeah, no, we're all done. We're all done.
Mr. David, let me say this. The rest of this package is going to start directing. That's a valid recommendation that he gave us. Let's start somewhere and let's kick out. So if housing is what we say, let's kick out. If it's recreation and youth, let's begin to move it. Thank you so much, Mr. David. Any questions or comments for the city manager? Any questions or comments for the city manager?
Madam.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I want to make sure I was acknowledged. Mr. Morales, we heard Mr. Cernick's recommendations on the next steps. Could you please elaborate a little bit on what you would like to see or what you think the next step should be?
Yeah, so I think the next step should be a more focused council meeting, whether it's a single subject, special meeting, and an evening like this where you can really dig into some of the things that he mentioned, finding what you all agree on, what to start pushing the money out. As he mentioned, it's we see a lot of funds spent, and our annual budget's about $130 million. So we do spend that much money, but we don't normally spend this amount of focused new money. So I do think it's important to start pushing the money out because you will have, right now you have supply chain issues, contractors are lined up, so it's important that these organizations start that process soon. So that's what I would recommend, whether you want it to be a facilitation process where we can look at some of these. You all have I believe you have all of the 400 applications that you can look at, whether you want to take a few weeks to look at those, and then we can come back at our next council meeting and set a date where we do that, whether you want to do it sooner, however you want to proceed. I think you should have a special meeting to move forward with these items.
Yes, Councilwoman Silver.
Thank you so very much. I would like to see all 400 and something proposals. How can I do that? Because I'm in the process now of going through, each one, and I'm doing my own little graphs with them. But I'd like to see all 400. And I know you offered that, but I didn't come to the next meeting to ask you for it. So I know you had it available, Mr. David. So
You can stop in and see Vicki Davis.
Okay.
She'll help you get through those.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Mr. Manager.
That concludes the management update.
Thank you so much. So, community, getting ready to go back in and make decisions. Thank you to the committee for all of the hard work that they did. And we not done, because y'all with us until 2026, this committee.
Let's get back to this.
Mr. Manager, you sure know how to empty out a house. Okay, I'm ready.
Mayor, your next order of business is the consent agenda.
The agenda has been available in City Hall and on the city webpage and on SGTV channel 191. I need a motion to pass. I need a motion, leaving room for exceptions.
So moved. Support.
I got an exception. One exception, number 5.
Number 5 for Mr. Number 5. Does anyone have any exceptions?
I'm sorry, what number was that?
5. Does anyone else have any? I could do the vote. There's a motion on the table, second and supported, leaving room for exceptions for number 5. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Madam Clerk.
Item number 5 is approve the grass cutting services agreement with the Saginaw County Land Bank Authority for $100,000 from July 1st, 2022 through June 30th of 2023, and to further approve a budget adjustment for fiscal year 2023 to recognize these funds.
Yes, so in other words, this agreement from July the 1st of 2022, so that means that they want us to approve this $100,000 for work they already have done and what they're gonna do in the future, right?
What we do is we try to get this based on the fiscal year, but we do it every fiscal year, so it pretty much just covers the calendar year. It's just to keep it in line with our fiscal year, from July 1 through June 30, through June 30th of the next year, so.
So what are they cutting?
Huh?
What are they cutting?
We cut from April through.
No, I'm talking about the land bank.
No, the land bank, no, they give us $100,000 and
Oh.
they help us buy equipment and help us staff
Oh,
people.
yeah.
To go out and cut some of these 6,000 vacant properties.
You know what I thought? I thought we was giving them money to cut grass, and some of these damn lots belong to them.
They're giving us, they're giving us money. So.
Yeah, they actually usually get $50,000 a year, and they're giving $100,000 this year.
That makes sense. Okay. I'm just saying on here, don't say they're actually giving us the money. They just say approve the agreement. So, all right, I'm good. I'm good.
Need a motion.
I need a motion. Can we change that?
I move to approve consent agenda item number 5.
It's been moved. Can I get a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay.
Who seconded the motion? I heard a different, thank you, George. I heard several voices and couldn't catch one. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk.
Yes, Mayor, we are now at City Board, Commission, and Committee reports.
Do we have any reporting system? I went to Region 7's board. I've been sitting on it, but I'm on a board in Lansing, working with senior citizens. They have funds available for hearing aids, dentures and dental, and also glasses. I will have the information hopefully on Monday, and you have to be at least 55 years of age. And they've also got a prescription program, 'cause I know during the water crisis, a lot of elderly people were cutting their insulin in half. They don't have to do that. There's money available to make sure they get their medication. So I will be bringing forth information so that the whole council will know. We need to tap into the resources. Saginaw has been getting neglected. We hope to get them back on the map. Anybody else?
Just regarding the Housing Commission, we had Ms. Leslie Foxx here to talk about that today, and the RAD program. If you are interested in hearing more about that, it is actually putting more residents, putting more vouchers in homes. So it's a really great program that really needs some support. HUD is really transforming and moving everyone towards this way. So I encourage you, we have a meeting this Wednesday at 4 p.m. at the Housing Commission.
What's that program?
RAD. Resident, I don't want to lie to you, so I'll get it.
R.E.D. Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else
I got a question.
about boards and commissions?
I want to ask him about his board commission. Do the land bank, can they turn, I'm not the land bank, I'm sorry, the housing commission, can they use vouchers for mortgages? Do you know if they can do that or not?
That would be a director's question from Mrs. Foxx.
Can you find out? You on that committee? Thank you.
And you said a voucher for a mortgage?
Yes.
But vouchers are federal.
That's right.
I got you.
Yes.
How can I get the information from you in regards to senior citizens? Is that something coming?
I just told you
I didn't.
that I'm gonna try to have it ready for Monday.
Okay.
Okay?
All
Monday.
right. Mm.
I will have it ready.
I'm gonna be at the dunk tank.
You know what? I need to make them some money, so that's right. Come on with it. You better get your A game on now. Get your A game on. I know you was coming, talking about you wasn't. Madam Clerk, I'm so sorry. We just totally got off cue there. I apologize. Anybody else have anything to report? Council members, if you are not on a board or commission or some type of group in this city, I encourage you to get on something. You need to be on something so that you can have something to tell the citizens as well. It doesn't have to be a board or commission, it could be your neighborhood group. Go to it, come and report out what's happening in your neighborhood.
Okay.
Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor. We'll see what's available as far as board and commissions.
No, I just said that I wanted to get on it. I didn't say they had to be pushed on it today.
Right.
Okay.
Right. But we'll see what's available for that. But remember, this section on your agenda is for city boards and commissions.
Okay, so
Committees,
city boards and
not
commissions.
neighborhood reports.
Okay.
Okay. Just want to make that clarification. Okay, our next order of business is appointment of board and commission members.
We have two board appointments. One is for a youth, and the other one is just an appointment for an adult. I need a motion, leaving room for exception.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Madam Clerk.
We are now at resolutions. We have one this evening. Is to terminate Brownfield Plan 16, Staples Building, also known as Michigan Photo Redevelopment and Reuse Project, located at 119 and 127 South Jefferson Avenue and 124 South Baum Street.
I need a motion to adopt.
So moved.
It's been moved in support. Any discussion?
Yes. Do this mean that
the people that used to own this building had a brownfield agreement with them. So how about the new people that buy the building?
No, brownfields are based on specific use. And so with the old tenant or owner of the building, they came to the brownfield board saying that they're going to do specific activities on the building itself. They are no longer doing those activities, and it's not transferable to the new owner.
So can a new owner come to the committee and get a brownfield too?
Yes.
For their stuff? Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Madam Clerk.
You are at miscellaneous business.
Any miscellaneous? Yes, Councilwoman.
Do we need to make a motion of some sort or give some consensus direction to the manager or staff on how we want to move forward on our next steps? Or are we going to?
I'll do a mayor thing. I think that we've already said, we stated, that our next move would be, we all got the package in the last 48 hours, is to look it over.
Right.
And then let's come back together in a couple of weeks where we will announce the next move.
Okay.
Did I hear you right? Mr. Moran, City Manager.
That's what you all want to do. I know that's a big, there's a lot of stuff to look at, so if you take a couple weeks to look at that, if you have, if you want to, if we can help in any way, you need more information or come in the office and look at the applications, just contact Rachel or Vicky in my office and they'll set up a time for you.
Yes.
Okay, excuse me. So in 2 weeks, we'll come and decide when we're gonna set the meeting for the discussion, which will give us longer than 2 weeks to look over all of this information.
Yes.
Perfect, okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you all looked at your package, but it's not a thin package, okay?
No, no.
It's not a thin package at all, not if we go through every one. So, yeah, you get your question
I just
answered.
want to make sure that we're. moving
Anybody
forward.
else? Madam Clerk? I need you know, we didn't get to that point. I was gonna let y'all all do not move until we've passed this motion. I need a motion to adjourn. I got a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, nay. Have a good weekend.